horror fans, welcome back to 1237, back with another review. Now, if you follow my channel, you know that I am a huge fan of the Studio A24. In fact, they are, when it comes to modern, recent horror films, they're my favorite studio. Them and IFC, or IFC Midnight, that's everything I look for in modern, recent horror. And I've been going out and just picking up more A24 films, ones that I've seen years ago, but before I really got into A24, but I hadn't owned yet, and just picking up ones I haven't seen, and I'm creating a playlist and a collection of A24. And this is one I picked up recently, and it's one that I actually have not seen, which, also I want to say, I have about a dozen or so A24 horror films now, but don't worry, I've already gone through their entire catalog and made note of what I've seen, what I'd like to own, ones that are coming out. I'm aware of everything in their catalog, so whichever one you can think of, I'm already aware of it. It's probably already on my list anyway. But yeah, this is one that I hadn't seen, and it kind of different than what I normally see from A24, because this is a sort of a classic creature feature, or a monster film. And it was written and directed by Brian Bertino, who also wrote and directed The Strangers, one of my absolute favorite horror films of the 2000s. And yeah, 2016, and it is The Monster. Which, right off the bat, I do want to say, the poster that I used in the thumbnail is the cover they should have went with for the DVD. Yeah, usually, the home releases of movies, that kind of marketing, can really fuck a lot of shit up, because, I mean, with the one that was in the thumbnail, one, that just looks better, looks more interesting, actually looks more like an A24 horror film. But two, but also this really, throughout most of this film, they try to keep the creatures sort of in the shadows or obscured by rain. They try to keep it kind of a mystery as to what it looks like. Here, it's just out in the open. They just show you right there. Which also, the look of the monster is very similar to, and even the cover is very similar to Feast. I mean, and I know I'm not the first person to say that the monster in this kind of looks like the one from Feast, but kind of if you take Feast and Night Beast from the 80s, kind of what it looks like. But it's all practical. If there was any CGI whatsoever, it was very well done and very seamless. From what I could tell, it was an all practical monster, which I love to death. Another thing I really like about this movie is I'm a big fan of films with limited casts and limited settings and locations. This is just a mother and daughter, you know, essentially broken down on a back road, stuck in their car in the middle of nowhere, and there's a monster outside. There really are only actors, which is Zoe Kazan as Kathy, the mother, and Ella Ballantine as Lizzie, the young daughter. Also, an appearance by Aaron Douglas, and a scene with Scott Speedman, who gets like top billing on the cover. Maybe because Scott Speedman was the lead in The Strangers, from the same director. Who knows? But yeah, he has a short scene. and and the way it goes about it, like with its pacing and sort of the progression of how they show the monster, I've heard it compared to Jaws, and I would definitely agree. It definitely is a slow burn. the first 40-45 minutes are just establishing the mother and daughter and their relationship. Because, yes, this is. I thought this was going to be a very straightforward A24 film, which I was curious to see how they would do that. I've seen a couple, but it's been a while since I've seen a few other ones that may be a bit more straightforward than this one. This one's still pretty straightforward, but being A24, there is still some themes, some symbolism, some metaphor, of course. And I thought this handled it very well. And I mean, the whole idea of using a creature or a monster or a threat like that as a sort of uh, uh, theme. Wow, I struggled to get that out. Some sort of like a theme or a metaphor for this strange relationship between a parent and a child. It kind of made me think of this film, which I'm also a big fan of. I really did like The Babadook. However, where this one is, The Babadook kind of represents the grief and loss between the two. This one deals more with abuse, neglect, and addiction. And where in The Babadook, the child was the insufferable one, here it's the mother, and the daughter is the very mature one that we're rooting for, and she's the one that is really getting the suffering end of everything. I mean, the mother is suffering from her own things as well. I mean, crippling anxiety, so much so that the daughter has to take care of things. Uh, which, okay. And she's an alcoholic, but, there's a verbal, even physical abuse. Scott Speedman, as her boyfriend, is also a bad influence, and just this essence of tension in the house whenever he's around. And this is told through flashbacks. I mean, the movie opens up with her having to wake the mother up. She overslept so she can be taken to her dad's house. And it's on this trip where they think they hit a wolf, frigs the car up, they're stuck, monster comes. But throughout the film, we get all these flashbacks to like verbal arguments, or at times the mother slapped her, or just all these different instances where that really shows their strained relationship. And one thing it did well is they don't make Zoe Kazan out to be like Carrie's mom. She's not just a complete villain. There is humanity in her. Like, there is a scene where she's going through the garbage to find alcohol, and she's literally sitting there telling herself to go to bed, but she gives in. And, there are scenes where they are holding each other. They are telling each other that they love each other. There's even a flashback to where she passed out by the toilet, and the daughter just comes in and lays next to her. So, it does show some humanity in there as well. She's not just this complete monster. But yes, that is the theme or the metaphor of this monster. It represents all the toxicity in their relationship by abuse, neglect, and alcoholism. Sorry I'm stuttering so much. God damn. And yeah, it does have some of the horror movie, I don't want to say cliches, but every time someone shows up to help, monster shows up, whether it be the tow truck guy or whether it be the ambulance, which I'm going to save that for spoilers, but, and also just being an A24 film along with a talented director, it looks great. I mean, you really feel the isolation on this backwoods road, just constant sound of pouring rain. There's not really a whole lot of music, Uh, there are a few jump scare stings, but I will say the jump scares are earned because it's just like constant tension that's building up. And one thing I've seen people say is the choices that the characters make. Now, one, yes, some of the choices, like the EMTs, that's just dumb horror movie character choices so that the movie can happen. But people really seem to have issues with Zoe Kazan's choice, like choices that she makes, which, yeah, they're not very well thought out choices or plans, but it makes sense for her character. It makes sense that she would think this is a good idea, but there's also more to it as to why she makes these plans. So it's not just bad writing or stupid characters. It makes sense for that character and I guess for the story. But yeah, it looks great, and probably the biggest thing is it is very well acted, especially by you know uh, Zoe Kazan and um, Ella Ballantine. Zoe Kazan, I really bought as just this, you know, deadbeat kind of anxiety-ridden mother that does not seem to be taking her job seriously. But the daughter, I thought did, for a child actress, I thought she did a very good job. She's very, you feel sorry for her every time something, whether it be a flashback or when the monster's actually coming. You know, she, she is sympathetic. She's pretty stoic throughout most of the first act, but both of them together really help sell this emotional story. So I thought they did a great job. And yeah, I mean it's a really straightforward monster flick. Something like Jaws. It even plays out like Jaws up until like the third act when you really get to look at the monster, which yeah, the look of the monster, it does kind of look like the ones from Feast, but it still has its own look to it. And I mean, it could have been an actual great white shark for all I care. The fact that it was practical, all the respect in the world for them actually doing that. And if there was CGI, it was pretty goddamn seamless, and I absolutely love that. It, but even for how straightforward it is, they were able to throw in some a metaphor throughout the whole thing that I thought made sense. Yeah, it was stuff that we've seen before, kind of, but in a different way. Like the monster in this represents different feelings than the Babadook did. Is it my favorite A24 film? No, but it's still very good. I would probably say it's deserving. It has like a 80 something percent on Rotten Tomatoes. I could see 70, 80 something percent being given to this. Very well acted, great creature effects, great atmosphere, and sound design. I mean, just that sound of the rain definitely helped the atmosphere. Great build of tension, and just the way it's able to tell the story and really build the relationship of these two characters with just one act of like a car ride and then a series of short flashbacks. You really get who these characters are and why their relationship is as it is. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely several A24 films I would put over this. Obviously, The Witch, The Lighthouse, Saint Maud, uh, Killing of a Sacred Deer, It Comes at Night, uh, probably Men. It's about as straightforward as X. Maybe X is a little bit more straightforward. I kind of liked X a little bit more. Not quite sure. But I would definitely put it over just my own liking of I'd probably say Midsummer was better made, but I like this better as a movie. Uh, I put this over like False Positive. Still a very solid movie. So definitely recommend it. And now I'm gonna get to spoilers. So spoilers now. um, so yeah, when the EMTs show up, which one tow truck guy gets killed, they're sitting in the car. He's working on it, and then it kind of has the Jurassic Park kind of not really reveal, but kind of first scene when they're trying to call out to him. They're like, "Well, where is he?" Then his arm just lands on the hood. Uh, the creature kills him. Ambulance shows up, and of course they won't just leave. They're fixing her up to an IV. Another one's looking around. They just won't leave. Which, yeah, I can see people saying dumb characters, but yeah, that one is more of just the horror movie character dumb choice, just so the movie can continue to happen. Excuse me. And so yeah, uh, the other EMT gets slammed against the windshield, rips the other EMT out. Uh, Kathy realizes that she has internal bleeding, which she does get in the ambulance and drive, but then the monster rams it. And it rolls, which I do like the shot, uh, the inside of the ambulance as it's rolling, because you just see like the girl and all the stuff inside just kind of spinning around in it. Wait, I want to see what the budget for this was because they were able to do a lot for very little. This was made for 74. Oh wait, no, this is the box office. It was made for 3 million, which I mean, it definitely looks like it costs more because it does look great. Uh, Unfortunately, it only grossed $74,700. That is abysmal. Yet, of course, every Paranormal Activity and Scream sequel, almost breaks records. But then, you get like a good A24 movie like this, doesn't even make a third of its super low budget. I really dislike the state of where the world is. So yeah, she realizes that she has internal bleeding, but also she holds a flashlight up to the monster and it runs away, so she knows it's afraid of light. So she decides. So she comes up with this plan, and this is where people say that her choice, her plan, or her choice bothered them. They thought it was really stupid and pointless. Yet, I feel like it makes sense for the character. The movie has shown she's not a good decision maker. It makes sense that she would think this was a good idea, but also she knows she's gonna die. She knows she's dying, so it's kind of the best. I can see it being the best option she has. Of course, it fails, but she's gonna light a torch and then create a diversion so that the monster will chase her, and so that Lizzie can make it to the road, further down the road and get help. Which, yes, if she figured out that the monster's afraid of light, why would she create a light to attract it? And then send the daughter running away, without something. So yeah, her idea is flawed, but I can see how to her it would make sense. It fits her character. The plan doesn't work. It does kill her. And then I guess you could call it a redemption because she knew she was gonna die, but story-wise, where it redeems for the audience, the last flashback we see is them laying in bed together, and they both apologize to each other. Apologize for saying "fuck you" and "I hate you," because I mean, some of these flashbacks are pretty, you know, a lot of movies will either just show like a slap or maybe something. But here it's like she's yelling at her to get in the car so she can take her to her play. She says, I don't want you there. And she just gets overwhelmed and just keeps screaming, fuck you, to her own young daughter. And I love the girl's performance in her reaction, like where she's choking back, saying like, don't talk to me like that. She just keeps yelling it. Then they just get this match of fuck you, I hate you, fuck you, I hate you. So you have this last flashback where they both admit that they love each other and that they're sorry. And right before the mother dies, she does say it to her also. So then the daughter comes up with this idea to, because she has this stuffed dog or the stuffed animal that repeatedly sings like, if you're happy and you know it. Which there's this other really sad flashback where the mom and her boyfriend, Scott Speedman, they go down to the daughter's fort, like chairs and a blanket, which a lot of the flashbacks, that's where she's hiding, just because they're always screaming and fighting and drinking. They accuse her of taking stuff. I figured it was either their alcohol or pills. She won't admit to it. Scott Speedman storms off, and the mom, so pissed that she, in her mind, that she did this, but also pissed her boyfriend off, that she just slaps her. While this stuffed animal is singing "If You're Happy and You Know It" and all these children's songs in the background. Which kind of made it look like, the innocence of childhood being ruined. The innocence with that song, and then just the corruption of it, or the betrayal of it with the physical abuse. So she decides to use that as like a lure. Have it sing, toss it off so when it comes, she's got like this aerosol can and her mom's lighter. She lights it up, it burns, it lunges at her with a little bit of life, and she beats it to death with a stick. And then I think that's when we get the apology flashback. And the way the final shots were shot, like the final few frames were shot, I was like, oh, this is the A24 moment. This is like the most A24 look of the whole film, where she's just walking through the woods, and then you just kind of see through the trees, there's just like this opening, where out of focus you just see like this sunny meadow, and then it just ends with like, here's the tree line, she just walks out, and then it's all just open, and then just cut to black, the monster. I loved those closing shots. There is a closing narration about how monsters are real, but she's no longer afraid. She kind of conquered her fear of monsters, kind of the fear or restrictions of her mother. That kind of fear was able to be conquered by defeating this monster. And that's the movie. So yeah, it took a very simple premise, like just being stuck somewhere with this monster outside, which also kind of like Cujo, I guess. Which even Cujo, I think, it could kind of be looked at as sort of like a metaphor for the family drama in that story. But, mother-daughter, bad relationship. This monster is supposed to symbolize and represent the abuse, the neglect, the alcoholism, and sort of how the mom gives in and succumbs to it. I mean, she dies at the hands of the monster, and the daughter is able to defeat it and overcome it. Which also, in like the last flashback, when they apologize, the mother says, "I know you're gonna grow into a better person than I am. And kind of the closing narration kind of says that as well, but from the daughter's point of view. So yeah, a simple premise, yet with this a running metaphor throughout it that I thought told it very well. I think some people just think of A24 as just this pretentious studio that's up its own ass with a bunch of messages. But I thought this one was very simple and worked very well. And, for me, just another solid hit from A24. Again, maybe, probably won't be one of the first films I think of when I think of A24, but still a solid effort. It's a shame it didn't make more money than it did, but, just another reason why they're my favorite studio for modern horror. So yeah, I will be picking up a few more A24 films as I go. I do want to build a big A24 horror collection. So, can look out for those. Still waiting for more extreme films, but anyway, thank you for watching.